Góðan daginn. Allir komnir með kaffi í bollan og orðnir saddir. Það er svona veðrið á Íslandi, þessir 3 cm snjór verðist það að vera að tefja fólk svolítið í morgun, þannig að það er ennþá að koma gestir inn. En við erum með það þétta dagskrá að við ætlum bara að keyra af stað. Við erum með frábært fólk frá Cisco Meraki í dag, sem eru Anjali Parikh og Cory Guynn, sem ætla að fara í gegnum Cisco Meraki vörlínuna, og síðan erum við með 2 viðskiptavini sem ætla að segja okkur frá sinni reynslu af Meraki lausnum. Það þeir Stefán Örn Stefánsson frá Reykjavík Excursions og Agnar Guðmundsson frá framhaldsskólanum í Mosfellsbæ. Þeir ætla að segja okkur svona, þeir eru búin að vera að nota Cisco Meraki lausnir núna í nokkra mánuði og nokkur misseri og með mjög góðri reynslu. Það er vaninn þegar við byrjum þessa morgunverðarfundi að biðja ykkur um að slökkva á símanum ykkar. En ég ætla að biðja ykkur um að taka upp síman ykkar og þið getið tengst þráðlausu neti sem heitir Opin kerfi opið og skráðu ykkur inn í gegnum splash síðu. Og það er svona eitt af því sem að Meraki, það er svona einkenni Meraki, mjög einfalt authentication í gegnum alls konar leiðir. Eftir að þau eru búin, þá setjum við fyrir svörum og ætlum síðan að draga út 2 heppna þátttakendur í dag sem að fá Cisco Meraki accesspunkta að gjöf.
Good morning, everyone, or golden ein, everyone. I think that's the most of my Icelandic that I'll be using today. My name is Anjali, and I'm the Cisco Meraki Inside Sales Manager for North Europe. Joining today, I have my wonderful systems engineer, Cory Guynn.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. Iceland and Reykjavik has certainly lived up to the beauty as well as the cold that I was promised. I'm actually originally from Los Angeles, from California, and as you can tell from my shoes, I'm not exactly equipped to being in the snow. But I'm very excited, and I'm excited to go around in the next few days. So I'm going to be completely honest with everyone here. When I first joined Meraki in 2010, I had no idea what a wireless controller was, let alone networking in general. In fact, the company gave me a wireless access point to take home and set up. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, cool. Does this mean I don't have to pay for my own internet anymore? Turns out that was not the case. Obviously, I was a bit of a technology novice. But after about 3.5 years, I can now genuinely say that I don't really know how any company can run a successful network without having Meraki installed in their own environment. Well, so today I just want to go through a quick background on Meraki, both as a company as well as a solution. And after a few minutes, Cory's going to take us through a nice live demo of one of our Meraki networks. So Meraki is 100% a cloud-based networking company. We were founded in 2006, and actually this was by our 3 founders who are MIT geeks. This all started off as a research project in order to provide wireless throughout the city of San Francisco. And after doing this, they were using just traditional home routers to be able to do this. But after a while, they realized it becomes a little bit difficult to manage such a high volume of access points while still being able to collect statistical information about the clients that are connecting. So at MIT, they presented on this cloud-managed wireless concept to a group of people. And at the end, one of the attendees came up to them and said, really liked your presentation and this idea of cloud-managed wireless. I want to buy 1,000 of your access points. Well, they hadn't actually built the product yet, right? It was just a concept. And again, the guy says, no, I want to buy 1,000 of these access points. Turns out that this gentleman was an investor from Google. And so that's actually how it originally started. So with original funding from Google and Sequoia Capital, Meraki was then built as a company. And a few years later, Sequoia Capital actually believed so much in this cloud concept that they invested an additional $15 million into the company. That ended up working out quite well for the company because at the end of 2012, Meraki was then acquired by Cisco Systems. So today, we are not only the leader in cloud-managed wireless, but we have an entire networking platform that ranges from security, switching, as well as mobile device management. We currently have tens of thousands of customers across every single industry, and we've seen consistent annual growth of about 100%. Now, the entire solution was built from the ground up organically by, in my opinion, some of the smartest engineers on the entire planet. So a lot of people ask why cloud managed networking, right? And our slogan has always been Meraki, a network that simply works. So we give you that simplicity while still allowing you to maintain all of the features that you've come to expect from an enterprise network. So manageability. We have customers that are managing organizations with 1 up to thousands of networks, and we want to be able to provide them with the platform to manage that from anywhere in the world. So all of the equipment is centrally managed over the web. And we want to grow with you as your company begins to grow. So we provide a lot of scalability. One example, if you're familiar with Accor or Motel 6 in the United States, they currently have about 800 to 900 locations that are using Meraki with about 10,000 access points. And they're able to do that with a very small IT staff. And this provides them a way to actually reduce operational costs because they don't have to worry about having set up IT on every single site. They can do it from anywhere in the world. They can do it from Reykjavik, Iceland if they wanted to. They can come here and still be able to manage that network. And we have multiple types of networks that range from small branches all the way to large networks across every single industry.
Yeah. So I'm just going to talk about really what does Meraki do and make. So initially we started off with the wireless access points, and that was really great, and we had a huge following because of this product. But then people were realizing, wow, I can see all of my clients on the wireless, and I can manage them, I can impose traffic shaping rules, and it's a really clever interface. I wish I could do this on my wired network as well. And so a couple years later, we built the security appliance, which is basically our firewall. It's a Unified Threat Management, or UTM, that kind of does a little of everything. It's your firewall, it will be your internal router, traffic shaping, visibility, content filtering. It kind of does it all. And so then we're like, well, you have your access points and you have your firewall. Well, how do you connect them together? So we built a switch. And so again, we took the same concept, and with the switch, you can still see all the traffic that's on your network. I can see if my servers are doing a backup in the middle of the day, causing a problem or a bottleneck. I can see all of that easily, and we can manage it in what we would call virtual stacking. So if you've worked with a traditional switch, you would have a couple of them in a closet. You might have some proprietary cable. You have to find that console cable, that blue one, to kind of plug into the back of it and make some changes. And that can be a little complicated sometimes, a little intimidating for the person who doesn't normally manage their switch. And so what we've done is we've allowed all of these switches to talk directly to the cloud, and you can manage them all across your entire campus, worldwide. So it's a really powerful way of managing what were traditionally a little bit complicated to manage in the switch world. And then finally, we have added the Meraki Systems Manager, which is a mobile device management platform that allows you to manage your clients. So we've been building the network equipment. The only thing that was missing were the actual devices using the network. And so we have built this agent that will reside on your mobile phones, on your laptops and your normal computers. And with the various operating systems, we can remote control them, push out software, do inventory management. So really, it gains control back to the administrator, where people are starting to bring their own devices. And so in a traditional Windows domain world, it was easy enough to kind of control that. But as people start bringing Android devices and their random Macintosh computers into the school or to the business, this basically gives that power back to the administrator to control them. And again, we do all of this through our dashboard, which you will see does not have a command line. So it might be a little unnerving for some people who are really good at just hacking away at some code. Well, we appreciate that, and we are a bunch of engineers, and we see the value. But in the modern day world, you just have too many devices to manage. They're spread across the world, and you just don't have time to remember, how do I get to that command? I have to show, run, figure out, question mark, Google search real quick. So now we've just built a really intuitive dashboard that has all these same controls, that has this visibility, and you can do some pretty serious troubleshooting with this equipment. If all else fails, you do have our support that we can really get down to the core of the issues.
Perfect, thank you. So what is it that everyone looks for in their network, kind of the most important thing? A lot of things come to mind, but for a key, it would be reliability, right, in this most simple way possible, and potentially for the least expensive option possible. But in today's market, networking has become so much more advanced and intuitive that it's not just a matter of reliability anymore. Many businesses are looking towards their networks to see how they can maximize its potential and actually bring dollars, or Icelandic krona, back into the company. So Cory's going to talk about it in just a little bit, but we have a feature even like presence analytics, which gives us the ability to capture raw data from devices that are just even passing by the network. So maybe not even actually connecting to the physical network. And with the help of our partners, we give you the tools that are going to help your business with tailoring specific business messages to your clients or to the audience that you want at the right times of the day. So I'm sure a lot of you in this room are either struggling with or are already seeing a large amount or a large influx of newer devices that are coming onto your network, right? We see about 1 billion iOS and Android devices out in the company. And we see, Cory's going to talk about it, but with our integrated mobile device management platform, you now have the ability to control all of those devices, so you don't have to worry as much about how these devices are going to maybe maliciously affect your network. As the years have gone on and even business critical applications have changed, you see a lot more high definition video and conferencing, a lot of more higher bandwidth applications that we now have to take into account for. So with Meraki tools, we can use layer 7 visibility and application traffic shaping to be able to identify what those business critical applications are, prioritize them with quality of service, but at the same time, take all of those non-proprietary applications that are sucking up a lot of bandwidth and throttling them down or even blocking them from the network entirely. And then you also see a lot of new business opportunities. There are so many small startup technologies now.
Sorry, keep on going.
There are so many small startup technologies that are investing in and building in applications that can reach out to larger audiences. And again, our presence analytics will give us that information to identify and understand that end user engagement. This is a quick snapshot into the web-based management platform. And this is really exciting because, and I can kind of go back, but as a manager, a lot of times when we're interviewing new reps, people are asking us, what is the most exciting part for you about Meraki? For me, it's not only about the growth that we've seen year over year, and even the culture. We have a very exciting environment and culture, but it really truly is the product. And a lot of that goes back from even when I first started, right? I mentioned how I didn't know much about networking, but as soon as we started pushing out this product into the market, customers loved it. They started getting very engaged and the feedback was incredible. And it was all because of this dashboard, which gives you the ability across each of our product lines to be able to have the monitoring capabilities to see clients that are coming onto the network, actual applications, to be able to use location analytics to help troubleshoot the network across your wired and wireless network. And we can do this all within real-time control. So I know we're going to have a few speakers come up and talk about their own experiences with Meraki, but there are a couple case studies that I did want to mention that are very relevant. So for those of you who are familiar with Applebee's, this is a very large restaurant chain that we have in the US. They're currently using Meraki Wireless across 270 restaurants across the entire nation. And some of the key features that they found useful in Meraki were originally within guest access, being able to push out coupons or promotions using our splash page capabilities. PCI compliance is a huge thing for these retail customers within the US, and we even give them the tools within our dashboard to make sure they are staying up to date with the latest regulations. They've deployed all of these and are obviously centrally managing them across the web without having to have specific IT on site at each particular location. And I really like this customer in particular because they've been a customer of ours for a few years now. And so that was before we introduced things like presence analytics or even Facebook Wi-Fi, which gives, again, customers the ability to ask their clients to like or check in on their Facebook page before they're actually able to connect to their network. This, again, gives more marketing and advertising right to that company. Features like Facebook Wi-Fi and Presence Analytics, which we didn't always have, are now readily available to customers of ours like Applebee's that believed in the Meraki concept early on. And because of our licensing model, they're automatically going to receive up-to-date features like Presence Analytics or any new features that we roll out in the future. Milpitas Unified School District. So in the US, education is actually our #1 vertical across the nation. And this is because we have a platform that fits the education model specifically. So in this case, this school district has about 14 different schools that are reaching out to 10,000 students. They've deployed not only our wireless as well, but our firewalls and about 100 Ethernet switches. And they've actually deployed a one-to-one with Google Chromebooks for each of their students. And they, like many of you guys in this room, are dealing with BYOD, bring your own device, with devices that not only they're giving out to students, but devices that want to connect into their network. And again, with Meraki's platform, they can have visibility into all of those clients and make sure that they're utilizing their own network to the best way possible and making sure that students aren't abusing their network with all non-proprietary applications. So just want to go through each of our product lines very quickly. So we have our original wireless access points, our MR line, which we have 6 different models for, 2 of which are outdoor APs. We have some of the highest performing APs, including an 802.11 AC to keep up with the newest standards of technology. 3 of our wireless access points are a triple radio. One of the radios, which is actually built now with a security radio to scan all APs within the network to make sure that there are no rogue access points and actually taking down any APs that are infiltrating the network. All of our APs will work together and be able to mesh together across the environment. And all of the features that we're going to be talking about, like BYOD capabilities, guest access, traffic shaping, are all included within our dashboard and is automatically pushed out through these APs. For all of our indoor access points, we actually believe so much in them that we offer a lifetime warranty across all of them. And then we have our range of our security appliances, our MEC series. We have about 6 different models which fit for our smaller branches all the way to larger networks that include campuses and data centers. A lot of people mistake this as maybe a simple stateful firewall box, but it is a true enterprise security appliance, which include features like site-to-site VPN, client VPN, content filtering, WAN optimization, all managed through the dashboard. Our security appliances as well come with a lifetime warranty for all of them. And then we have one of our most popular products, which is our access and aggregation switches. So we have a range of 8-port, 24-port, and 48-port switches in PoE and non-PoE versions. And we have about 14 gigabit switches, which also include SFP plus aggregation switches. Now, this is one of the first products that have integrated capabilities like layer 7 visibility into their platform. A lot of things that historically have taken a lot of time, like doing packet capture or cable testing, we've integrated within our dashboard so you can do these things with just one click of a button. Also gives you quality of service for applications like voice and video. And just like our indoor APs and security appliances, this comes with a lifetime warranty across all of our switches. So while Meraki is very proud of its feature sets and how we are able to provide an enterprise class network, equally important to us is the way that we maintain our security. So Cory is going to talk about our out-of-band architecture.
Yeah. One of the questions that we get all the time is, what happened when the cloud goes down? Or will my equipment continue to work without the internet? And what we've actually done is we've built this out-of-band architecture that basically, within the cloud, this is our dashboard, you will make your configurations there. So you will tell it what SSIDs I need to offer, what my firewall rules look like, basically how the network functions, and those configurations get sent to all of the devices. And then, like an army, these little soldiers continue to operate on their own. And so we do this for a number of reasons. One, it's faster this way. So if we build a configuration, those devices can act locally on it. So when we need to process, say, a DHCP address or a firewall rule, this happens in line with that equipment. We also do this for security reasons. We don't want to see all of your data, and I'm sure you don't want to share it. And so what happens is the traffic stays local to that equipment. So when something hits the access point, it will then put it onto the switch. The switch will then put it onto the firewall, and the firewall will send it directly to your internet link, and it will go that way. All that the Meraki does at this point is it forms an encrypted tunnel using military-grade AES encryption to every single device. With this tunnel, we will then send high-level statistics, and then we will create a path to download that firmware and any configuration changes that you have. Kind of speaking more to security, we've paid special attention to the types of information that we will collect. And so as I'll show you throughout the dashboard, we tend to collect just enough information to make the administrator efficient without being invasive. And so there's a fine line here. So it's helpful when I can tell that somebody has gone to YouTube and they downloaded 500 megabytes of data over the past day. What is not necessarily helpful is what YouTube channels they were watching. If they were watching cat videos all day or a dog, on a skateboard, maybe it's not really helpful for the school, but it definitely is more telling. And so we do offer either APIs or something like a syslog service that allows you to download the very granular information, such as URLs and when they were accessed to your own server. But what Meraki will collect is the high-level information to make you more efficient. And this also aligns well with healthcare policies. So in the States, we have HIPAA, which is a privacy act for all the healthcare. Basically says that we can ensure that your healthcare records are going to remain private. Further, we have the PCI compliance, which is basically your payment credit card way of securing the way that you can process payments for your retail sites or your restaurant. And so you can actually offer a guest access network on the same access point that you are collecting credit card information using your point of sale system. So maybe you have iPads and you're running credit cards through those. We can fully support that and ensure that that type of information is going to be isolated and secure and local to only your systems.
Thank you. So BYOD and Systems Manager, again, something we've touched on and we're going to talk about in the demo. But the nice thing about Systems Manager is that currently it's free, so that's always a nice selling point. And you can manage and manage as many devices as you want. So currently there's no limit as to how many devices you can install Systems Manager on. We give you a lot of capabilities across all iOS, Android, PCs, and Macs. That's what we're currently compatible with. We can do things like remote desktop, being able to see all the devices that have that installed, or being able to reboot or shut down a device remotely. We can also see applications and programs that are installed and push out updates to those devices. there's also a lot of privacy features that are included within Systems Manager. So if you're a school, for example, that are passing out iPads to all of your students, but you don't want them to be able to use the FaceTime functionality or YouTube, we can disable that completely from the cloud. We've also integrated this with our wireless platform. So if you're not handing out these devices, but you want to have control over devices that are coming into your network, we have something called Systems Manager Sentry, which will actually ask users that are trying to wirelessly connect to your network to install Systems Manager onto their device before being allowed on. And this will, again, give you that added control. I encourage everybody here, if you aren't currently using Systems Manager and want to get a feel for the Meraki solution, since it's managed from the same exact web-based interface, after this conference, please do go to our website, go to Systems Manager, and go ahead and download that completely for free. And across all of our hardware, we believe, again, so much in the product that we say, go ahead and take it home for yourself and test it out. And we encourage all of our customers to do this before actually making any purchase decisions. Because there's no hardware controller, we can ship out the APs, security appliances, and switches and send you a license key. So you can get this setup up and running in about 15 minutes and actually test out the full platform. We offer 14 to up to 60-day trials depending on how long you need for actual testing. The support is also included in our license model. So we have our pre-sale support like Cory that can help you with making sure you're configuring the network properly. And we have our technical support team that will be able to help you post-installation with that. And that is it for slides right now. Thank you so much. And Cory will now go into a quick demo of the actual dashboard.
All right. Now to the fun stuff. What we're looking at here is the Meraki dashboard where we will control all of the equipment. So the idea here is that you are an organization. That means that you own the devices and their corresponding licenses. And so within an organization, we can actually have multiple networks or sites. So let me just take a step back. So we're looking at the wrong network. Let me go into our Meraki corporate headquarters. Go into demo.
Yeah, so we use Meraki across, obviously, all of our locations for our switching security appliances as well as our wireless too.
All right.
There we go.
Here we are. So we actually have 53 networks for the corporate infrastructure. This is basically our main offices in San Francisco and London, and then we have various teleworkers throughout the world. And I can easily see all of their locations and their health status. Now, we have a lot of engineers, and they're always playing with things, so things tend to go up and down all the time. So basically, we can see all the types of networks that we have, and then we can manage them. We have a lot of conventions I'm just going to familiarize yourself with real quick, where we like to use tags, where you might have a lot of a certain type of devices, a lot of types of ports, types of clients, and so a naming convention can be a little challenging, and especially if you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, things sort of change over time. And so by using tags, you can apply a lot of labels, and you can kind of come up with your own conventions for organizing and searching things throughout dashboard. So right here, I can look for all the networks that are tagged as in teleworker, teleworker, and I can instantly see all my teleworker devices. We also have a lot of conventions where we show you the health status and this graph. This is a real-time graph where the most recent time is off to the right. Where this is helpful is you can easily see if there's, like, say, a common denominator, if they all went down at the same time. I can see why they went offline by just hovering over it. There's a lot of information that I can get from these types of graphs. Let me go back here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to dial into the San Francisco location. By just clicking on that and then waiting. Let's do this. Meraki Corp. All right. So what I'm looking at here is the client's overview for our San Francisco office. Now this is a combined view where I can see all of the wireless connections, everything through a switch, everything through my firewall, all in a single view. And so this actually has a lot of power because I can see where problems are occurring and what clients are having issues and generally how the network is being utilized without, again, having to run a lot of commands or doing a lot of research to figure out why is everybody in the conference room running slower than everybody else, or is it just this one person, or is this a global issue? From this view, I can see things like our layer 7 visibility, which is huge. Basically, this will show us beyond just IP addresses, I can actually see the types of data that are going across my network. So for instance, I can see a lot of secure traffic, which makes sense. Our dashboard is completely secure. We also have our web apps like Gmail and banking sites. These are all going to be secure, and we can kind of see how they're impacting my network. I can also see that I have a lot of iSCSI traffic, which basically means I'm backing up stuff to my storage area network, or a SAN, and I can see when that's happening. And so if this is really impacting my network, which I can see it's happening every day, I might want to check to see, well, is this happening during the day, or is this happening in the evening? Is this truly a backup, or am my servers just accessing the network? So I can actually see that from here. Coming down a little bit farther, I can see things like Dropbox, which is an important service. You know, people are backing up their files. And so I can see if that's impacting it, and maybe I'll do some shaping with that a little bit later. I can kind of scroll down a little bit. Let's see what else we got on this network. Yahoo, Gmail, all pretty standard stuff here. Now, if I wanted to see really what's impacting my network here, I saw that iSCSI was, well, who's actually doing that? And so I've actually clicked on that. And I can see it's really just one server, and it's called the ESXi backup, or it's a VMware box. So it's pretty obvious. It's using 100% of that rule, and that's all it's doing. But if I wanted to get even more information about it, I could then click onto that device, and now I can get its exact IP address. Maybe it has a fixed address. I could do that directly from here without having to go through my firewall and set up a NAT rule. I can do all of that directly from here. Or if I'm having problems with it contacting the rest of my network, or if I can't connect to it, I can see all the policies that we have applied to it from the very top, from the firewall, down to group policies, down to the access point potentially if it were connected to one. And I can see all of that in one view. Instead of having to go through all of my different devices figuring out, can I ping it? Can I go through this? It's really easy to really make heads or tails of what's going on here. So I'm going to go back to another client that might be a little bit more interesting here. Let's see, hide this for a second. I'm just going to look at all of my wireless clients. So let's say wireless clients that are online. All right. And this guy right here has used 14 gigabytes in the last week. Well, he's either really busy or he's doing something else. So if I click on him, I can see that he's wireless. I can triangulate generally where he's at. So if this person were to call me and say, hey, I'm having problems with the network, it's really slow, I can say, well, all right, I can see that you're generally in this area, and I can see which access point you're connected to. I could then see if that access point's having any issues, or if he might be connecting to, well, it looks like this access point's offline. And so that might be the issue, because now he's having to connect to one that's maybe farther away. There might be a wall between him, and so he's going to have a tough signal. In this case, he actually has a pretty decent one, 40 decibels, and this is real time, so I can actually see how his signal is performing. I can also see other information about this device. Again, this is all happening dynamically. I never entered any of this information in there. I just know that this person actually logged in using our Radius system, and I can see all the information about that device. I could even maybe add notes to this person. I could maybe say that, you know, this is the CEO, and so I should remember that this is an important computer to make sure it's healthy, right? All right, this is actually not the CEO, and I don't want to give that guy extra privileges. All right, okay. So what else can we see? All right, for the past week, I can kind of see his spikes and what he's doing. Let me see what he's doing over maybe the last month. Maybe I can get some more information. Okay, so I can see this layer 7 stuff showed a little bit more color. And then I can see exactly what this person's doing. So again, we try to keep it high level. So we see that there's some secure sites. I can see Yahoo, CNN, ESPN. So I can see he's on some sports sites. Not exactly sure what team he's following, but I can see that at least he's spending some part of his day checking out sports sites instead of answering emails. So I can see that sort of information. There's quite a bit of other stuff that we can actually see. There's lists and lists of all of this. And all this information can, again, be exported to your own servers. If you have your own logging or reporting system, we have a lot of tools that you can export it. But generally, you're going to find that 80–90% of what you need to do can be easily done through our dashboard. And that includes things like troubleshooting. So, if he's having an intermittent connection issue, I can do a real-time ping from here just to see how that's going. While that's running, we can also see other bits of information like what software is actually installed on the device. Now that client may not be on. So I can actually go into a step deeper, and let me open this in a new tab. So this is the systems manager that we were talking about, where Systems Manager actually shows the complete set of details for your clients. What this will show you is all of the CPU, the memory, the hard drive, what software is installed, giving me the ability to push out this type of software on the actual device. Now we have to have an agent to pull out this information, but this agent is easily installed either by just connecting to a wireless network provided by Meraki that will provide you with the installation files there. You can also install the files from your local app store, so maybe the iTunes App Store or the Google Play. You can push it out with Windows group policies. So we give you a number of ways of pushing this agent out. So maybe I just want to do a quick inventory, and I want to figure out, say, how many Windows computers are out there. Sorry, the computer's a little slow here. I'm not typing. All right, so we have quite a bit, 622 out of the 883 devices. Or if I want to see maybe Apple, well, let me actually name it an operating system. Can I do that? There we go. We only have 6 of those devices out there that have it installed. I can go iPads, 17. So just a way of figuring out the environment that I'm working with. And I can also see, well, of those iPads, who's running the latest operating system. And so I can see I have some people out there running iOS 4 all the way down to 7. And so I can see that maybe some people are having issues with some of the software I'm about to push out, or some functions are not working. I can easily see what's going on, and then I can address those. So if I actually go into a client, let me see if I can find one that's online. There's a problem with San Francisco. They're asleep right now. So let me just click on one, a more recent one. 7. Yeah, Paul's iPad. Let's see what Paul's up to. All right. So we can get an approximate location of him, but if his device was on, we would actually see a GPS as well, so we can really locate where that device is. Again, this is very helpful in case that very expensive iPad grew legs and kind of walked out. So I can figure out, okay, well, I know I have 10 iPads for this library, but I can only find 9. Where is that 10th one? I can find that. I can even set up things like geotagging. So if it has left a particular zip code or postcode, I can get an email alert to notify me that this device has left the building. We can also do other things like, again, generally get information about it, battery life, who the owner might be, security, storage. We can see over time how it's performing. Excuse me. But another event that you might want to do is maybe that student has graduated, maybe that employee has gone on to other opportunities in life, and you need to erase all the information on that device. So you can do that through an erase device, or you can do a selective wipe. So think erase device like that device is potentially stolen or lost, and you just want to make sure it's completely reset. It's a lost cause. I just want to make sure my data is not on there. You can hit erase. Selective Wipe will only remove the information and applications that we from Systems Manager have pushed out. So again, if that employee brought their own iPad in and then they have left the business, then I can just remove those business applications and the data that corresponds to it. We can also lock it. So maybe we've lost it, but we really hope we can find it in the next 24 hours. I can lock it down until I can find it. Again, hopefully if the device is turned on, we'll have a GPS, and so I can kind of walk around looking for this device, like I'm looking for gold on the beach or something. So I've actually had to do that a couple times. It's like it's always under the couch. I don't know how it ends up there. All right. We can also clear that passcode. So maybe I've forgotten what that was, or maybe a student or employee borrowed the public iPad. They changed it. I can then override those settings. Send notifications like, please return my device. I can do that. And then you'll actually get a prompt on that device. So pretty powerful stuff. And this will vary depending on the type of operating system. So if this were a Windows or a traditional laptop, I could remote desktop into the device, or I could do a quick screen grab. So this is a powerful feature, so use responsibly. It really works well, though, in a school setting. You want to see what the students are up to, especially if you have a lab and all the computers are like facing the opposite way from the presenter. You can kind of understand what's going on, if they're actually doing their studies or if they're on ESPN or some other site. It's really powerful. The remote desktop has also come in handy if you have a large amount of servers you want to manage. You can see one or all of them. We use just a VNC protocol to see that. So that's the general idea of what you can see with the clients. Now I'll just kind of show you how you can manage them. So we do this first with profiles. So a profile is just kind of a template. That's what I'm going to define as my general container. So we can have our global settings, so Cisco Meraki. But I could also set up one for accounting and sales, engineering. And that's going to have some general ideas of who I'm going to apply it to. So I'm going to apply this template to all of my employees. Okay? So that's just a little bit of the background. Where it really gets interesting is applying these settings. So I've set up that profile, so Cisco Meraki settings. And I've decided I want to put on some restrictions for these devices. So I don't mind if people are using maybe the camera, but I could then turn off some other things. Like I don't want you using FaceTime, or I don't think you should be doing game centers right now. I can turn off some other things, maybe turn off YouTube. So I can do all this and lock down my iOS devices pretty extensively. Also there's called Supervised Mode. So you'll tend to see this in kiosk settings, where Apple allows you to use a configurator application to further lock it down. So if I have a restaurant and I just want to make sure that it's only running my point of sale system and that's it, or I'm running a library and it's only looking at the Dewey Decimal System engine, I could really lock it down using a combination of Apple's technologies and then further enhancing it with Meraki. So those are some of the ideas of restrictions. We can also apply passcodes to the device, but we can also start tying it into some of the Meraki core infrastructure. So I could configure a Wi-Fi network, and I could do it manually. I just put in, the network and put that in there. Or maybe I have radius set up, and it can be a little complicated to set up for all my devices. So what I can do is I can set up an automatic, and I just select, I want everybody to connect to the London office, and they will automatically join the SSID, and that's it. I save changes. Now everybody who has Systems Manager will automatically connect to that wireless network. There's actually some other benefits to this. I could use a pre-shared key, which is typically just shared, maybe written on a chalkboard somewhere. But I could actually create a hidden wireless network, use a pre-shared key, yet push it out in the background. And so nobody actually has to know that key except for the administrators managing the network. So it gives you some real power here. Can do the same thing with VPN. Traditionally, this is another kind of painful thing to set up. Meraki's security appliance supports a standard client VPN using IPsec, which is pretty straightforward. A lot of times people will require special software to do the connection profiles. Well, our agent can effectively do that, where you can either manually set it up again, or you can select automatic, select I want to set it up like my Meraki corporate headquarters, and then it will automatically push out those settings. Other cool tricks that we've recently added, Activesync by popular demand. You need to get your Microsoft Exchange email. Now we have a way of pushing out those settings to your iOS device. We're going to be quickly adding Android, and we are entertaining the Microsoft platform once that sort of stabilizes. Okay. Windows RT or not, I don't know. So, all right. A couple other things we can do just to talk about it here. Web clip, that's basically like sending out a shortcut, you know, so if I have an intranet or some popular links I want my students or my employees to take a look at, I could do that here. Credentials allows me to push out certificates, which again is traditionally kind of a pain to manage. We can easily push that out. And Backpack, now supported on both Android and iOS, we can push out actual files to these devices. So this is popular to push out maybe a curriculum or some manuals, whatever might be helpful for your business. We can push that out. Sometimes people will build their own Android applications, and it might not be in the Google Play Store. Well, you can actually push those out using this technology. So there's a lot of cool ways we can do this, and we've basically built our own sandbox on that device to allow us to do this. Okay. And then finally, I'll talk about app deployment on this. So, page. So we basically have a hook into the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And so I could say add a new iOS app. And I could say maybe Evernote, because my memory is not that great. I can store all my notes in Evernote. I could say add this, and I could select which type of devices. Again, I like to use tags, so I can say with any of the following tags, and then I can say everybody in sales needs to have Evernote. And so now all of those devices will get a notification that there's a software ready for them. They put in their Apple ID, and the software will be installed onto the device. If I ever need to remove it or update it, I can easily do that directly from here. So it's a pretty powerful way of doing this. It looks identical on the Android side. Now on Windows and OS X traditional, we can push out the software as well using the package files or MSI files. We actually have more control with those devices because we can remove software that we never even installed. So that's a pretty powerful thing, especially when Microsoft decides to audit you when you have decided to push out a license to your entire business when you only had 5 copies. You can definitely do that here. Let's see, software, leave this page. Yeah, so it's pretty powerful. So again, you can push all this out here just by uploading your own MSI or package file. All right, so that's the concept with Systems Manager. There's a lot more features to it. It goes pretty in depth, but this is a free product, and so I encourage you to just go home and install it on one of your devices and have a play. I mean, really, the idea behind it is that we want you to have exposure to the power of a cloud-managed platform, and then take that concept and then start applying it to all of your other infrastructure requirements. So I will go into those other devices. So let's go back to Meraki Corp. There we go. All right, so let's talk wireless. So wireless, again, this is where we started. And so we needed a way of managing our 22 access points. And we could do this in command lines. We could have a controller, but then we have single points of failure. What we decided to do was every access point actually has its own CPU and memory and processing power so that it can handle the day-to-day operations on its own. Yet we need to basically manage all of these and push out the configurations and understand how they are operating. And so we can do that from this client's view. And so right now I can see 22 access points, but again, using tags, I want to see all the access points for my guest network. How are they performing? All right, I have 20 of those. And maybe I just want to know the ones on the 4th floor, so I can further narrow it down. So now I'm looking at 6 access points. And it looks like I'm having some issues here, maybe some firmware issues. I can also see the models that they are, and a ton of other information here. All of this information can then be downloaded again to a CSV or spreadsheet. But if I actually want to go in, and by the way, this connectivity graph, again, very helpful. I can see all these devices just now came online. This is our new MR18, so brand new, and we just now installed it as well into our main headquarters. And so if I actually click on this device here, we have 9 connected clients, so let's just see what's going on. All right, so I can see here that this device is generally located on this floor plan. So we do this in a couple of ways, by the way. The floor plans will be uploaded by yourself, and then you can simply move things around. We have another section where you can drag the access point to its particular location. But actually, as you enter the device into your dashboard, we'll ask you for the address, and then we'll be able to at least point it on the Google map where this network resides, and then you can kind of fine tune it where it needs to go. So kind of coming a little bit farther down here, we can see again all the helpful information about this device. And let me just turn off my admin so I don't break my company's network. Let's do that. Okay, no, should have did that before. All right, so kind of coming further down. So with the absence of a command line, we still need to be able to do some troubleshooting, right? So what I can do is I can see exactly what's going on and work with the device using our live tools. And so I can see the current clients, see exactly who's connected in real time. I can ping them, see their signal strength, generally what channels they're operating on, see the general health of that access point's environment right here, and just get a sense of how it's working, pinging it, doing all sorts of stuff, get all sorts of information about its performance over time. We can also see some other interesting things beyond just wireless, and this could actually be our presence analytics. So with presence analytics, we can do more than just keeping a wireless network functioning. We can actually add value to the business by pulling in information about the environment, like how many people have walked past that store, or how many people have gone into that restaurant, how long were they there, and how often do they return based on their loyalty. And this can be really informative information, especially for your marketing team, just understanding how your business is operating, if it's in the right location. And then I can also compare this to other sites within my organization to see if my marketing campaign has actually improved relative to another store. Let's see what else in the interest of time. I'm going to talk about our switches. So our switches, again, all cloud managed, giving you the ability of controlling all of these devices from a single view. This would be considered our virtual stack, where I have 41 switches that I could easily manage here, yet I want to be able to manage all the ports as well at the same time. So what I can do is I can see all of the ports across my entire headquarters. So it's 1,900 ports. I can see all their stats, see how they're performing. I could then make changes to a particular port, if I want to turn it on or not, if I want to apply a VLAN to it, to one or all of them. I can set up a voice VLAN if I needed to. So if I were to set this to access, I could then set a voice VLAN so I could daisy chain it off of my phone. So there's a lot of powerful things I can do from this view. There's also other little tricks that we can do with these switches that you won't typically see. Like if I were to go into say a switch, I could, let me go to my switches here. I could actually do port testing if I would like. I can see exactly how it's performing. So if I just click on this switch here, I can see a view of what it looks like, its health again. I can see all sorts of information. And then again, I have my live tools. But I can even do a cable test. So I can see if one of my ports is actually having problems. So I could actually say 29, port 29, and see how it's behaving. So if I've inherited some dodgy wiring, or maybe there's some rodents in the ceiling eating my cables, I can do a test, see how long it is, and whether or not it's healthy. So switches are pretty straightforward. We do layer 2 and layer 3 functionality. Going further up the stack, we have our security appliance. And again, this is going to be sort of the brains of the operation. So it's going to be your firewall and your VLAN router. It supports dual internet connections where I can do failover or aggregation. I can also, again, do all my live tools, understand its performance over time. And I'm just going to show you some of the cool things that you can do beyond just your traditional firewall. And actually this applies to our wireless access points as well, where I can impose traffic shaping rules. So we looked at some of that content earlier on the client's view, and we noticed that there was some people on gaming sites, maybe file sharing, but definitely some things I don't want to happen on my network are maybe like social and web. So I don't necessarily mind that you're checking Facebook, but what I want to do is make sure that you only have half a meg when you're doing it. So if you're uploading pictures and videos, we can throttle that. But then I can say something more important, like, let's say voice over IP. If I select all voice over IP, I want to make sure that that has no limit, it's a priority of high, and I can honor my QoS tagging. And so now, just through this interface, I've prioritized voice over IP, but I put social web in the background. I can also take this sort of information and build policies. So I could have a group policy that could be set on a time. So maybe I don't mind Facebook, but only during the lunch hour and after 4 o'clock every day. I could do that. Or there might be a really critical service like my backup jobs. I can make sure that the backup services have full bandwidth after hours, but during the day, maybe they just do incremental updates, and I want to restrict how that looks. So that's the general idea of what we can do with the security appliance. Actually, I should mention that it does the site-to-site VPN, which is actually my favorite feature of all. A traditional VPN, you have to hard code both sides, and it can be quite static. That means you have to have a dedicated IP, which costs money typically, and you have to have a little bit of planning to really get these things going. With Meraki, the devices will automatically contact the cloud. They will know that they want to be part of the VPN, and they will then connect to one another automatically. So the idea here is that you can have a huge network with all sorts of locations using basic DSL lines. And as soon as that device turns on, it will automatically contact the cloud, it will download its configuration, and it will connect to all of its other peers automatically. The great thing about this is you can really just ship this firewall to a local site and just walk them through, hey, plug it in port 1, port 2, everything else will take care of itself. So it's a really powerful feature. On top of this, we can build in things like content filtering, security filtering, where you have intrusion detection and prevention. We can support Bonjour for your Apple Talk devices, AirPlay. All of that is really built into the MX appliance. And they generally all run the same software. We just have different models with different horsepower. So do you want the 4-cylinder or the 8-cylinder? Either way, it's still going to do the same thing. It's just a matter of how many clients you want to connect to it.